Hello, my name is Bill Davidson, Senior Consultant with Critical Design Associates. Today, I'd like to welcome you to our presentation of Ivanti Service Management Design Considerations. Implementing ISM should consider some aspects as follows. An infrastructure. Well, first off, the application is installed on MS servers and it's configured and can be scaled to provide whatever resources are necessary. We may include security and redundancy features based on some specific security needs or requirements. We'll be using Microsoft SQL for databases. We'll have three tenants: staging, UAT, and production, provided for various functions that we'll be doing in the application. Access to the application is web-based via URLs, so we won't have to worry about upgrading clients or even installing clients. Just give them the URL, they'll go to that location, and hopefully can log in without any problem. We'll have some integrations with ISM. Commonly, we'll have external applications like Active Directory and email. We will need to configure those integrations, and there may be more that come up depending again on the customer needs. Our user interfaces, they are provided via web, but we have a number of different roles that the users can log in. Self-service provides some minimum capabilities, creating an incident or a service request and looking at your status. But the support and administration interfaces allow you to fully address incidents, service requests, take care of processing them to a resolution or a completion. And the administrator has superpowers. They can go in and make major configuration changes to the application. Now, some of the configurations that the administrator might do would include making the user interfaces more friendly. Now, ISM comes in two flavors. We have a hosted SaaS version where Ivanti will take care of creating your tenants and maintaining and upgrading your system and assure that you have the necessary resources for the performance that you need. We also have an on-premise version where this will be installed in the customer's infrastructure, maintained by the customer, and of course resources will need to be determined based on your needs and growth. When we consider the configuration of the application, we will have done a workshop so we can collect some of the details that we might need to, let's say, customize the application to meet the customer's needs. We will have also collected some reference data that allows us to get started in configuring incident and other examples. We're going to keep track of the changes that we made in our design document so that we know exactly how and who did what. With an on-premise installation, we can range from a very simple installation to something fairly complex. But the basics are always the same. We're going to have some combination or single production application server. We're going to have a development server that hosts our staging and UAT tenants, and a SQL server that contains the databases for the two different application servers and their corresponding tenants. We may provide some web servers so that customers will log in through the web server instead of through the processing side. We may have a more complex SQL server with failover redundancy. And it's possible to have multiple application servers that just are used to process services that are going on all the time. You get too many of those going on, you might want a little more power. The server requirements are not too extreme. All of our servers are going to be running Microsoft Server 2016, and we like to see at least 4 CPUs and 16 gig of RAM. And we might even suggest a little bit more than that if it's available. Again, we can increase, double up the servers if we need to so they can provide more resources. And we even have high reliability, but you might have to get some additional licenses in order to accomplish a true failover schema. The VM that I'm showing you here has a production server, a development server with staging and UAT tenants, and a SQL 2016 server. See here we're logged into the client side of the application, but Since I'm an administrator, if I did need to make some configuration changes that require the administrator interface, just click on the little wrench box over there and I'm brought right into it. As we prepare for deployment, there are a couple of things that we need to take care of. If this is a SaaS installation, project management is going to request the creation of your staging tenant with access for your consultant and some of our customer administrators. If we need a VPN, then we're going to have a request for the VPN generated, and we'll be supplying that request form to the customer for details that we might need. In some cases, we might want a secure FTP site. That's in case we need to set up some sort of an import for the application to bring data in. And if we do that, then we'll need to get information also. For an on-premise installation, the customer is going to need to take care of getting the servers installed according to the requirements, specifications, and we'll want to make sure that they have connectivity between all the application database servers, email, Active Directory, and anything else that might have come up during our examination. We'll also want to get the MAC addresses so that we can get licenses for the production and development servers. And we'd like the customer to download and place the installation files and the licenses on the desktop of the respective application server or SQL server if needed. There may also be a need for the customer to get access for our consultant to be working. It may require a VPN, or if they're not overly secure, we might be able to just hit their website and take care of it from there. But we will need to be able to get to the servers to do some things. Once this is all taken care of, we can get the installation taken care of for the customer and validated. Once the servers are installed, we'll be taking care of configuration, but some considerations need to have been made with the configuration. First off, what are the needs that have been specified in the design document that came from the design workshop, and how are they prioritized? Sometimes we have a limited amount of time and we have to act on the priorities. We won't get everything done, but we want to get the system up to the point where it is fully functional for the customer. Do we have any open issues or information that we need to get? Maybe they haven't quite finished the reference data, they're still figuring it out, but we need to get that before we can finish the configuration. If it's a new customer, then we're going to be in a pre-production environment, so there's no risk to their production. But if we're doing some add-ons or some updates to their environment, we'll probably have to do that in their staging tenant and do UAT testing and then arrange to move that information during a time period that's not risky to their production. And we want to make sure that we've defined any testing that needs to be done as we're going through the configuration and as a part of user acceptance. Are we taking care of the customer by making sure that we transfer as much knowledge to them as possible? Let's make sure we do that, communicate status, and we schedule regular working sessions and reviews. Now, let's not forget to update the design document with the specifics of any techniques that we did and when we did them. There's a couple of kinds of configurations that we might need to do. If we're making structural changes to the configuration, we'll be using the administrative interface. And by structural, we mean, are we modifying business objects? Are we modifying pick lists that are associated with certain things in the business objects field validations? Escalations, those have to be taken care of in the administrative interface. Surveys, if we want to make modifications, enable those, we have to do that there too. And integrations, most of those have to be done in the administrative interface, the exception of email integration. Now, for business objects that are already created, we may be able to go ahead and add some of that information in the client interface. For example, for instance, service category and subcategory values. We can take care of that in the client. We can set up email, outgoing email, as well as our email listener. We can create, modify teams and team members as we need to. We can create employees, or we can modify employees that have been brought in through Active Directory, for example. And service request offerings, those have to be done on the client side. So here's just one example of a modification or a configuration that we can do on the client side. We're going to go to Email, Config, and as we can see here, we are able to configure the settings for the email outgoing box or the email listener right here. On the administrative side, we might want to do something like configuring our LDAP settings. Here we can go to our integration tools. We see that we have LDAP settings highlighted. We can click on that and it'll bring us to LDAP settings where we could add a new one if we wish to. I sure do hope that you've enjoyed our presentation today, and we're really looking forward to working with you. We'll have additional presentations that are going to include things like we'll build an on-premise installation. We'll do some examples of application configuration and testing. What do we need to do to get ready for go live? We're going to cover a little of that. And then after we're live, we might need to upgrade or update our system. What are some techniques that we might use to do that? Thanks. Have a good day. Bye.